one of the root causes as to why. Haha, pun intended? Pun not intended. I don't know whether it was intended or not. It happened. Hello and welcome to another fretboard lesson. My name's Darryl Powis, and today we're going to look at the 5 levels of minor pentatonic scales. Now, minor pentatonic scales are really important for your guitar playing. I'm sure I don't need to convince you of that. But one problem with them is that people tend to get stuck in a box with them, stuck in the same part of the guitar. So I'm going to attempt to lay out what I think are healthy learning goals for unpicking or undoing that stuckness with fretboard knowledge. Okay, so let's talk about where people mostly are with pentatonic scales. You probably know the shapes or one or two of the shapes and can play them. And can probably improvise a little bit with some of those shapes too. That's great. Now, I think the key to getting out of being stuck of those shapes and out to just sounding like those scales being played up and down is to start learning the fretboard in a few other different ways. We are going to come back to those shapes in a second, but right back at level 1 is something else entirely. So we're going to jump to the E minor scale and we're going to look at the pentatonic scale from the ground up, and we're going to start hopefully filling in some gaps. I can't emphasize enough, even if you think some of these things are beneath you, you should get a lot of value from doing the exercises in this order, because it should fill in a lot of gappy space on your guitar, and especially the habits you build going back to level 1 when you come back to playing those full shapes again will serve you in very good stead. Okay, so without further ado, let's start looking at level 1. Now, in order to do level 1, which is single string pentatonic scale, first need to show you the full E minor scale. So the full E minor scale has the following notes. It's E, which is the root, F sharp, G, which is our 3rd, A, which is our 4th, B, which is our 5th, has C, which is our 6th, and we have a D, which is our 7th. So the whole E minor scale is. And the E minor pentatonic is a lessened version. So it's the full scale with 2 notes removed. So the 2 notes which are not being used once we know our full E minor scale are the 2 and the 6. So there's no F sharp and there's no C. So instead it looks like this. And that's really important because the notes we've got going on here, instead of it being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and if you're completely lost right now as to what I mean, I would check out, I have another video on the 5 levels of minor scales, which I'll put a link to just at the top so you can check that out too. Hey, I just wanted to take a short break to let you know that I do videos every Thursday and Saturday on fretboard knowledge on the guitar. So if you're enjoying this, if you're finding it too much, whatever, if you want to watch more of them, catch me, then hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will see you again soon. All right, back to the lesson now. The pentatonic is in function. It's like the minor scale with some notes removed. And I think it's kind of like the safe notes to play of the minor scale when you're soloing. So it's a really great scale. But now we're playing root, 3, 4, 5, 7, root. Okay. Now what's really important is, first of all, that you know what the functions of those are. So rather than me saying, oh, that's E, G, A, B, D, and E, I care that you know the function. So root, 3, 4, 5, 7, root. And that you can do that in multiple places on the guitar. So anywhere you have an E note, that pattern applies. So here on the 5th fret of string 2, I've got another E note. That you can find that scale up and down from there. I have another E note here on fret 9 of string 3. And I can go backwards from it. So instead of just going forwards, I've got root, 3, 4, 5, 7, root. Okay, and then I can go backwards to. So I can go root, 7, 5, 4, 3. Okay, being able to navigate your fretboard by finding a root note and then moving off from that root note is really important. It only becomes more and more important the longer you learn guitar. So if you're stuck in a box, I would really focus on this single string exercise and finding root notes to then play off your single string scale on, so you get comfortable with finding those root notes. Most people that I find who are stuck in a box with their pentatonic scales that they're playing, they don't know where their root notes are on the instrument. Very, very important, and probably one of the root causes as to why. Haha, pun intended? Pun not intended. I don't know whether it was intended or not. It happened, but yeah, it's really important that you fix those root notes. Okay, so once you're able and you're comfortable with that, and you could use that as an exercise that you could be doing for weeks, months, very easily. So once you've got comfortable with level 1, level 2 is to take the pentatonic scale and be able to use it over 2 strings. So what does this look like over 2 strings? So this time I'm going to do the demonstration in A. So same pattern as in E minor, there's no change, just the root note's now A. The reason I'm doing it is because we're now in the middle of the fretboard. Makes it easier to demonstrate for you. So when we're playing over 2 strings, what we're going to do is there's 5 notes in the pentatonic scale, but I want to be able to visualize from root to another root. So there's actually 6 notes that we're going to play. So we're going root, 3, 4, 5, 7, and root. Okay. So in this case, I'm going to play my first 3 notes of the single string scale on the 6th string. And then I'm going to play what would be my 5th, which was here. I'm going to play that on the next string. I'm going to play the 7th that was up here on the 5th string. And then I'm going to play my root again, which is an A note here on this 5th string. Okay, now I like this because we're going from one root to another root on a different string. You're beginning to visualize where those notes actually are. So as you've got comfortable and your ear has got comfortable on that single string, you can start swapping those string changes for them. And we've only got one string change to worry about, which is another reason why we leave those big patterns for a bit later on, because you have lots of string changes. I'll tell you now, you won't ever sound better crossing strings than you do on a single string, in my opinion. So the more practice you can do on a single string will just make you sound and want to be better when you're crossing strings too, because there's lots of technical stuff going on. Okay, so now you apply that pattern to anywhere we can go on the guitar. We find an A root note. So where do I have an A root note? I've got one here. And I can go that pattern again. And it's a nice thing to stop yourself every now and then and go, what function am I on? So I'm on the 5th. Stopped at the root. That's my 3rd. And then I can keep going backwards. And you see how already we've broken out. We're not stuck in a box. We are playing patterns. That's okay. There's nothing wrong with patterns. But we're attached to root notes with those patterns. We have some awareness of where we are on the guitar. Really good stuff, in my opinion. All right, cool. So next, where do we go with this? Well, the next thing that I think is important for our pentatonic scales is one-shape patterns. So the patterns that you probably did in the beginning, but with knowing where those functions are. So if I was teaching you from the ground up, this would be level 3. If you've already done this pattern before, we re-look at this now and go, okay, well, this has got root 3, 4, 5, 7, root 3, 4, 5, 7, root. So knowing where your function is really important for your guitar playing, because that's how you follow chords, and that's part of why we get stuck, is we're not sure where we actually are in the instrument. We're just playing a pattern mindlessly. So level 4 is, once you've got one pattern down, is then to go ahead and start learning all 5 minor pentatonic patterns. And you can learn them rote as is. You can do them on paper. You can do them on the guitar. Getting used to what those shapes look like is an important part of playing the guitar. Let me show you what they sound like now. So we've already heard number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4. And number 5. So getting used to just knowing the shapes is an important part of it, and this is where a lot of people either start or they get stuck and they just kind of play those shapes as they are. This is not talking about phrasing or anything yet going on, this is just fretboard knowledge. So with level 4, just a side note here, instead of playing them all up like I did, you can play them up and then down the next one. Try and run them together a little bit. There's lots of things you can do there to try and not make those become shapes. But what I would say most of all is to be aware in your shapes of where the root note is. So as you're doing level 4, each of those shapes, where's my root notes? In shape 1, my root notes are here, here, and here. So I know where my root notes are. In shape 2, my root notes are here and here. So that's cool. So learning to practice them and then really emphasize those root notes is really important, because knowing where the root notes are really matters, especially when it comes to combining these levels later on. So if I know my root notes there, I can go off in one of my single string. Okay. Same with 3, know where they are, 4, etc. So you should know where your root notes are, and that brings me to level 5. So level 5 is to work on your shapes patterns, or any of the levels that we've done so far, and be able to integrate them with the triad that you're currently on. So the triad, in this case A minor, which is the chord that you are implying when you play the A minor pentatonic scale, is notes root, 3, and 5. So knowing where that triad is in each of the areas, so in this case over here, if I know all of the notes, in my scale, which are the root, 3, and 5, those are the most important notes of that scale, the root, the 3, and the 5. And being able to stop on those is very important. Now, some people do this by using the caged system, cage scales, that kind of thing. I'll probably make a future video on what that is. And some people do it just by learning triads. I don't really mind which way that you're able to visualize the fretboard. What I care about is that you're not eventually stuck in patterns. You're able to see a root note and your thirds, and I'll make future videos on that. But as an example, if you're working on it, to be able to play through this scale, I should be able to stop and go, okay, I know where my notes are when I'm improvising. So that's on the 5th right now. That's on the root again. The 3rd, the 5th, and the root. And then on the next one, that's my root. That's a 5th right there, we missed out. There's a 3rd there. So being able to see those is really important while improvising on our pentatonic, and practicing to do so is very important and will help you get out of that box, because what the goal is, hopefully, is to see a chord and be able to improvise over it, or even just see a root note and go, yes, I know where I am over there. So I should be able to go, oh, here's my A, and go, oh, cool, okay. That's what I'm going to play off there. Any direction. So I should be able to go off single string. And I should be able to go off dual string, so any direction I should be able to move, and then you're going to base that decision on the sound that you want to hear. And that's what we haven't talked about today so much, is phrasing. This is pure fretboard knowledge. But if you work on this stuff, it's going to open up the fretboard a little bit more for you to see more of what's going on, which should help get you out of that box. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you join us for next week. Please hit the subscribe button to join me. I do videos every Thursday and Saturday. Thanks very much. I'll leave some videos here for you to check out. Thanks. Bye.